Hey guys, what's up? Today we'll be looking at some more of the Code of the Duelist rulings. This is part 4. First card we'll look at is Gaia Saber the Lightning Shadow. The question is, can I equip Gaia Saber the Lightning Shadow with 7 completed? If so, can I choose to increase the defense by 700? The answer is Gaia Saber the Lightning Shadow is a machine type monster, so it can be equipped with 7 completed. When activating 7 completed, you normally choose to increase either the attack or the defense of the equipped monster by 700. But since Gaia Saber the Lightning Shadow is a linked monster, it has no defense. Therefore, if you equip 7 completed to a linked monster, you must select attack for the effect. Next question is from Mrs. Radiant. The question is, Mrs. Radiant on the field is destroyed by battle or card effect and sent to the graveyard. In this case, if I activate the effect of Mrs. Radiant that adds an earth monster in my graveyard to my hand, can I target Mrs. Radiant itself? The answer is, in this scenario, when you activate the effect of Mrs. Radiant that was destroyed and sent to the graveyard, you can target that same Mrs. Radiant. Mrs. Radiant is a link monster, so it returns to your extra deck instead of being added to your hand. Next questions are for the field spell Trickstar Light Stage. And the first question is, I activate the effect of Trickstar Light Stage, targeting a set card in my opponent's spell and trap zone. If the targeted card is Dark World Brainwashing and my opponent chains it, how does the effect of Trickstar Light Stage resolve? The answer is, if the card targeted with the effect of Trickstar Light Stage is chained and becomes face up, the effect of Trickstar Light Stage is not applied. In this scenario, the effect of Dark World Brainwashing can be activated during this turn, also is not sent to the graveyard during the end phase. The next question is, I activated and resolved the effect of Trickstar Light Stage so that the targeted set card in my opponent's spell and trap zone cannot be activated until the end phase. If my opponent activates a Mystical Space Typhoon and destroys Trickstar Light Stage, what happens to that set card? The answer is, if Trickstar Light Stage is destroyed after applying its effects, the effect is no longer applied, the targeted card can now be activated normally and it is not sent to the graveyard during the end phase, if it is not activated at that time. Next question is, while Trickstar Light Stage is face up in my field zone, a Trickstar Lilybell on my field attacks directly with its effect and inflicts battle damage to my opponent. At this time, does the effect of Trickstar Light Stage inflict 200 damage to my opponent? The answer is, even if a Trickstar monster inflicts battle damage to your opponent, the effect of Trickstar Light Stage inflicts damage to your opponent immediately after damage calculation. In this scenario, the effect is immediately applied after damage calculation. Then you can choose to activate the effect of Trickstar Lilybell that adds a Trickstar monster in your graveyard to your hand. The next questions are for Air Cracking Storm. The question is for Air Cracking Storm. The first question is, my Cracking Dragon equipped with Air Cracking Storm destroys an opponent's monster by battle, and I activate the effect of Air Cracking Storm that allows the equipped monster to attack a second time during this battle phase. When Cracking Dragon attacks a second time, what happens to the attack if my opponent activates Mystical Space Typhoon and destroys Air Cracking Storm? The answer is, after the effect of Air Cracking Storm is applied, if Air Cracking Storm is no longer equipped when your monster is attacking a second time, it is no longer able to make a second attack. In this scenario, if Air Cracking Storm was destroyed during the battle step, before you declared the second attack with Cracking Dragon cannot declare another attack. Also, if Air Cracking Storm was destroyed during the battle step after the second attack was declared, the attack stops without continuing to damage calculation. Next question is, I have 2 copies of Cracking Dragon on my field, and one is equipped with Air Cracking Storm. My Cracking Dragon equipped with Air Cracking Storm destroys an opponent's monster by battle. I activate the effect of Air Cracking Storm that allows the equipped monster to attack second time during this battle phase. If Air Cracking Storm is then destroyed by Mystical Space Typhoon, can my other Cracking Dragon attack during this battle phase? The answer is, during the turn you activate the effect of Air Cracking Storm, monsters other than the equipped monster cannot attack. Even if Air Cracking Storm is subsequently destroyed, that restriction is still applied, and your other monsters cannot attack. In this scenario, after Air Cracking Storm is destroyed, your other Cracking Dragon cannot attack. Next question is, I have 2 copies of Cracking Dragon on my field, and one is equipped with Air Cracking Storm. My Cracking Dragon, equipped with Air Cracking Storm, destroys an opponent's monster by battle, and I activate the effect of Air Cracking Storm that allows the equipped monster to attack a second time during this battle phase. During this battle phase, if Tailor of the Fickle is activated and equips Air Cracking Storm to my other Cracking Dragon, can that one attack? The answer is, during the turn you activate the effect of Air Cracking Storm. Monsters other than the equipped monster cannot attack. Therefore, in this scenario, even if Air Cracking Storm is equipped to a different monster by the effect of Tailor of the Fickle, the newly equipped Cracking Dragon cannot attack. The next question is, a Cracking Dragon affected by Forbidden Lance and a Jack Wyvern equipped with Air Cracking Storm are both face up on my field. When Jack Wyvern attacks and destroys an opponent's monster by battle, I activate the effect of Air Cracking Storm that allows the equipped monster to attack a second time during this battle phase, but prevents my other monsters from attacking. During this battle phase, can I still attack with Cracking Dragon? The answer is, during the turn you activate the effect of Air Cracking Storm. Monsters other than the equipped monster cannot attack. This is not treated as part of the effect of Air Cracking Storm, so even if the effect of Forbidden Lance makes Jack Wyvern unaffected by spell effects, it cannot attack during this battle phase. Next question is for Smile Universe. The question is, when I declare an attack with a monster, my opponent activates Magic Cylinder and negates the attack. During this turn, I activate Smile Universe. The answer is, even if your monster's attack was negated by Magic Cylinder, since you attack with that monster this turn, you cannot activate Smile Universe. The next question is for World Legacy Discovery. The first question is, World Legacy Discovery is face up in my field zone. In this situation, if Imduk, the World Chalice Dragon, is destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, or sent to the graveyard by an opponent's card effect, can I activate the effect of World Legacy Discovery that special summons a World Chalice monster from my graveyard in defense position? The answer is, even if a World Chalice Link monster is destroyed by battle or leaves the field because of your opponent's card effect, you can activate the effect of World Legacy Discovery. However, you cannot target a World Chalice Link monster with that effect, so you must have an appropriate World Chalice monster in your graveyard to target. Next question is, World Legacy Discovery is face up in my field zone. In this situation, if Lee the World Chalice Fairy is destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, or sent to the graveyard by an opponent's card effect, can I activate the effect of World Legacy Discovery by targeting that same Lee the World Chalice Fairy? The answer is, in this scenario, since the Lee the World Chalice Fairy that allowed you to activate the effect of World Legacy Discovery was sent to the graveyard, you can target it with that effect. Next question is for March of the Dark Brigade. The question is, can I activate March of the Dark Brigade by targeting a Michael the Arch Lightsworn in my graveyard? The answer is, since you can activate March of the Dark Brigade by targeting a Michael the Arch Lightsworn in the graveyard, since Michael the Arch Lightsworn is a level 7 monster, it can only be targeted if you have 7 or more cards in your deck. In this case, since Michael the Arch Lightsworn is a synchro monster, it returns to your extra deck instead of your hand. And you do not banish any cards from the top of your deck afterwards. Next questions are for Twilight Twin Dragons. The question is, I have 3 or less cards in my deck. Can I activate Twilight Twin Dragons? Also, if I have 3 or less cards in my deck, can I activate the second effect of Twilight Twin Dragons when it is sent from my deck to the graveyard by the effect of a Lightsworn monster? The answer is, if you have 3 or less cards in your deck, you cannot activate Twilight Twin Dragons, nor can you activate the second effect of Twilight Twin Dragons. Next question is for Spellbook of Knowledge. First question is, Macrocosmos is face up on my opponent's field, and its effect that banishes any card that would be sent to the graveyard is applying. In this situation, can I activate Spellbook of Knowledge? The answer is, even if the effect of Macrocosmos is applying, you can activate the Spellbook of Knowledge. In that case, the Spellbook, spell card, or spellcaster type monster you would send to the graveyard is banished instead, so you cannot draw 2 cards. Next question is, can Mystical Ref Panel be chained to Spellbook of Knowledge? The answer is, Mystical Ref Panel is activated by chaining to a spell card that that targets affects one player. The effect of Spellbook of Knowledge does not affect only the player, so Mystical Repellent cannot be chained to it. The next question is Spellbook Magician of Prophecy is set in my monster zone. When resolving the effect of Spellbook of Knowledge, can I choose that set Spellbook Magician of Prophecy as the spellcaster type monster that is sent to the graveyard? The answer is the effect of Spellbook of Knowledge sends one spellbook spell card that is either face up on your field or in your hand to the graveyard, or one face up spellcaster type monster from your field to the graveyard. You cannot send spellcaster type monsters that are face down on the field, nor spellbook spell cards that are set in your spell and trap zones. In this case, if there are no appropriate cards you can send to the graveyard, you cannot activate Spellbook of Knowledge. Next question is, White Wing Magician is face up in my monster zone. When resolving the effect of Spellbook of Knowledge, can I choose White Wing Magician on my field as the spellcaster type monster that is sent to the graveyard? The answer is, even in this scenario, when resolving the effect of Spellbook of Knowledge, you can choose a White Wing Magician on your field as a card to be sent to the graveyard. In that case, since Pendulum monsters are added face up to the extra deck, instead of being sent to the graveyard, you cannot draw 2 cards. The next question is, a Tricky token that was special summoned by the effect of Tricky Spell 4 is face up on my field. When resolving the effect of Spellbook of Knowledge, can I choose a Tricky token on my field as the spellcaster type monster that is sent to the graveyard? The answer is, even in this scenario, when resolving the effect of Spellbook of Knowledge, you can choose a Tricky token on your field as the card to send to the graveyard. In that case, since tokens disappear when they leave the field, you cannot draw 2 cards. Pardon me. The next question is, I activate Spellbook of the Masters, targeting a Spellbook of Knowledge at my graveyard. When resolving the copied effect of Spellbook of Knowledge, can I send the activated Spellbook of the Masters to the graveyard? The answer is, even if you apply the effect of Spellbook of Knowledge using the effect of Spellbook of the Masters, you cannot choose the activated Spellbook of the Masters as the card you send to the graveyard. In this scenario, since you must have a spellcaster type monster on your field and reveal a Spellbook spell card in your hand to activate Spellbook of the Masters, you can send any of those cards to the graveyard when resolving the effect. Next question is, I activate Spellbook of Knowledge and then change Spellbook Organization from my hand. In this situation, when resolving the effect of Spellbook of Knowledge, can I send the activated Spellbook Organization to the graveyard? The answer is, in this scenario, if Spellbook Organization was changed to Spellbook of Knowledge, it will be face up in your spell and trap card zone when the effect of Spellbook of Knowledge resolves, so you can send it to the graveyard with that effect. You can also draw 2 cards as usual. The next question is for Boogie Trap. If I activate Boogie Trap by targeting a Fiendish Change in my graveyard, but my opponent chains DD Crow and banishes that Fiendish Chain, how does the effect of Boogie Trap resolve? The answer is, if the trap card targeted with Boogie Trap is no longer in the graveyard when its effect resolves, the effect is not applied. The next card is Castle Link. First question is, when activating the effect of Castle Link that targets one Link monster on the field, can I target an Imduct the World Chalice monster that is in the main monster zone directly underneath an extra monster zone? The answer is, the effect of Castle Link moves one targeted Link monster to a main monster zone linked to it. It cannot be moved to an extra monster zone. Therefore, in this scenario, since Imduct the World Chalice Dragon does not have any Link arrows pointing to a main monster zone, it cannot be targeted with the effect of Castle Link. Next question is, I activate the first effect of Castle Link targeting one Honeybot in my opponent's main monster zone. If I also chain Ojama Trio and special summon Ojama tokens to the main monster zones linked to Honeybot, how does the effect of Castle Link resolve? The answer is, the effect of Castle Link is not applied if all of the main monster zones linked to the targeted Link's monster are occupied when it resolves. In this scenario, Honeybot remains face up on the field. Next question is, I activate the first effect of Castle Link targeting one Honeybot in my main monster zone. If my opponent chains enemy controller and takes control of my Honeybot, how does the effect of Castle Link resolve? The answer is, when resolving the effect of Castle Link, if control of the targeted Link monster is changed by an enemy controller that was chained to the effect of Castle Link resolves normally. In this scenario, after Honeybot changes control, you still move it to an adjacent main monster zone that is linked to it. Even if Honeybot moves zones, the effect of enemy controller does not disappear. So during the end phase, it will return to your main monster zone normally. The next question is, Ib, the World Chalice Priestess, and Imduk, the World Chalice Dragon, are face-up in my main monster zones. In this situation, I activate the effect of Castle Link, that switches the zones of two link monsters on the same side of the field. If my opponent changes Compulsory Evacuation Device and returns Imduk, the World Chalice Dragon, to the extra deck, how does the effect of Castle Link resolve? The answer is, in this scenario, since Ib, the World Chalice Priestess, is the only link monster in your main monster zone, when the effect of Castle Link resolves, the effect cannot be applied. If the World Chalice Priestess remains where it is in its main monster zone at this time, if there are two link monsters in your opponent's main monster zones, the effect is still applied and switches them. The next question is, Ib, the World Chalice Priestess, and Imduk, the World Chalice Dragon, are face-up in my main monster zones. In this situation, I activate the effect of Castle Link that switches the zones of two link monsters on the same side of the field. If my opponent chains Forbidden Lance and makes Imduk, the World Chalice Dragon, unaffected by spell effects, how does the effect of Castle Link resolve? The answer is, in this scenario, since there are two link monsters in the main monster zones, those are the two that are chosen when the effect of Castle Link resolves. However, since Imduk, the World Chalice Dragon, is unaffected by spell effects, you cannot move it to another zone. Both Ib, the World Chalice Priestess, and Imduk, the World Chalice Dragon, remain where they are in their main monster zones. The next questions are for Defense Zone. Defense Zone is face-up in my Field Zone, UA Playmaker is face-up in my main monster zone, and UA Power Jersey is face-up in my Spell and Trap card zone of the same column. Also, UA Block Backer is face-up in my opponent's main monster zone, and UA Penalty Box is face-up in the opponent's Spell and Trap zone of the same column. In this case, which cards in the Spell and Trap zones cannot be targeted or destroyed by which player's effects? The answer is, the effect of Defense Zone is one that prevents cards in a player's Spell and Trap zone from being targeted or destroyed by their opponent's card effects, as long as they are in the same column as a monster in that player's main monster zone. Therefore, in this scenario, the UA Powered Jersey on your field cannot be targeted or destroyed by your opponent's card effects, while the UA Penalty Box on your opponent's field cannot be targeted or destroyed by your card effects. The result is the same even if Defense Zone is face-up in your opponent's field zone instead. Next question is, if both players have Defense Zone face-up in their field zones, how are their effects applied? The answer is, the effect of Defense Zone is one that prevents cards in a player's Spell and Trap zone from being targeted or destroyed by their opponent's card effects, as long as they are in the same column as a monster in that player's main monster zone. In other words, even if both players have Defense Zone in their respective field zones, there is no difference in how the effect is applied. Next questions are for 3 Strikes Barrier. First question is, if there are no monsters on my field, can I activate the 3 Strikes Barrier and select the effect that prevents monsters on my field from being destroyed by battle? The answer is, even if there are no monsters on your field, you can activate the effect of 3 Strikes Barrier that prevents monsters on your field from being destroyed by battle. This effect is applied not only to any monsters that are on your field when the effect resolves, but also any monsters that you summon afterward. The next question is, I activate 3 Strikes Barrier this turn and select the effect that reduces all battle damage I take this turn to 0. Does this include battle damage that I would take for both direct attacks by my opponent's monsters and battles involving R monsters? The answer is the effect of 3 strikes barrier reduces all battle damage you would take this turn to 0, including for both direct attacks and battles involving 2 monsters. Next question is, if I activate 2 copies of 3 strikes barrier in the same turn, can I select the third effect for both? The answer is, even if you activate 2 copies of 3 strikes barrier in the same turn, you can select the third effect for both of them. In that case, when a monster on your field inflicts battle damage to your opponent, each effect is applied. For example, if your Cyberse Wizard with 1800 attack attacks your opponent's Hackworm with 400 attack, your opponent takes 1400 damage, and you gain 2800 life points from the effect of 3 strikes barrier. Next questions are for Trickstar Reincarnation. The first question is, while the effect of Imperial Iron Wall is applying, can I activate Trickstar Reincarnation? Also, what happens if my opponent chains Imperial Iron Wall to my Trickstar Reincarnation? The answer is, Trickstar Reincarnation cannot be activated if the effect of Imperial Iron Wall is applying. Also, if Imperial Iron Wall is chained to Trickstar Reincarnation, neither part of the effect of Trickstar Reincarnation is applied. Next question is, if my opponent has 5 cards left in their deck and 6 cards in their hand, can I activate Trickstar Reincarnation? The answer is, even if the number of cards remaining in your opponent's deck is less than the number of cards in your opponent's hand, your opponent cannot draw the same number of cards that would be banished from their hand, so you cannot activate Trickstar Reincarnation. The next questions are for Pulse Mines. First question is, can I activate Pulse Mines if there are no attack position monsters on my opponent's field? The answer is, even if there are no attack position monsters on your opponent's field, you can activate Pulse Mines. In that case, although the effect that changes all attack position monsters on your opponent's field to defense position is not applied, the effect that changes any monster that is normal or special summoned to your opponent's field this turn to defense position will apply. Next question is, can I activate Pulse Mines if the only monsters on my opponent's field are link monsters? The answer is, even if the only monsters on your opponent's field are link monsters, you can activate Pulse Mines. In that case, although the effect that changes all attack position monsters on your opponent's field to defense position cannot be applied to link monsters, the effect that changes any monster that is normal or special summoned to your opponent's field this turn to defense position will apply. Okay guys, so I think that's enough of me talking for this part. I think this will probably just take another 1 or 2 parts. As always, if you have any clarifications that you need made about the explanations I've made in regards to these cards or the rulings, just let me know and I'll explain them to you. As always, please like the video, please comment, please subscribe, and thank you for taking the time to watch the video.